Hey, how's it going? Tyler with Apex Trader. Today, I had one of my best friends give me a call earlier and asked me a few questions about the stock markets because everything I was posting in the Facebook group and everything intrigued him, and he really wanted to reach out and really see what it was that I was doing and if he can get into it himself. And I said, absolutely. And so he asked me a bunch of questions that I thought were extremely important and questions that I think I may have had before I started investing in the stocks. And you might be able to learn something from this as well. So the very first thing he kind of asked was, why should you invest? Well, the very first thing why you should invest is because it's another way of making an income. And so what I mean by that is you can go, about your life here and in the future about working your job, 5, 6, 7 days a week and making that one income, which, as you know right now, about 80% of Americans um, live paycheck to paycheck. It doesn't matter if they're making $30,000 a year or $150,000 a year. Even the people making that much a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. And why is that? It's because to be successful, you don't just need to base it off of one simple income every month, but you need to have a variety of incomes. You need to have incomes coming in at every single door that you have. And so, how do you do that? The stock market is an amazing place to do that. There are, right off the top of my head, different, five different strategies you can use in the stock market to add to your portfolio that can give you a monthly income. Now, talk about my money working for myself, right? Right. That's pretty cool. And so, that is a really good reason of why you should invest is to have multiple incomes because that's extremely important. And so why do I make these videos? I make these videos because 2 years ago I didn't even know myself what a stock was. And once I, went into Google and searched it and it changed my life once I really started learning and everything about that. And I want to explain how to do these stocks because of how easy it was once I attained the knowledge. I never knew making money was easy like this. And all I had to do was really kind of sit back and just exactly know what it was that I was doing, what it was that I was looking at, and how that brought in so many different incomes to my daily life. I never thought that. I always thought that the motto was you got to work hard at your one job for 5, 6, 7 days a week to bring home money. And it's not like that at all. And so, why doesn't everybody do it? I get that asked the most. Why doesn't everybody do it? Well, number one, they don't teach it in high schools. When I went to high school, they didn't have a class going over what you need to know for the stock market. There wasn't one, at least not that I was aware of. I mean, it might have changed now, but you got to think about it when you are 16, 17, 18. Does the stock market sound appealing at all to learn about? No, it doesn't. You might think, gosh, that's the driest topic anybody could think about. And somebody walks into a room trying to talk about stocks, I could fall asleep listening to it. How many of you are in that boat? I know, probably almost all of you. And so I try to make these videos to really explain that, hey, this is possible. This is really exactly what it is. There's no scam behind it. There's nothing that is nobody's not telling you that's happening. And so I think that's very important to why doesn't everybody do it? And I think it's one of those things about like you know about it through the grapevine. You hear about it passed down through people, and then you are able to find out about it. It's like how many you go out during the day and how many times would you go up and ask somebody, what do you do for a living? You hardly ever hear somebody say, I'm a stay at home stock investor. I'm a big time investor that does nothing but the stock market. How many times have you gone out and actually know somebody like that? Me personally, I really couldn't tell you. That's like going out and saying, hey, I know a Navy SEAL. I don't know any Navy SEALs. That's how it's like. There's a 1% of America that does that kind of stuff. And I think that's really fascinating once you go through a learning curve to get on the other side of that. So let's talk about the learning curve. Um, One of the things that I think stops a lot of people from it is the learning curve it takes before you understand the stock market and how it works and everything there is to it. And what I mean by that is when I first started, I couldn't wrap my mind around it for about 2 months. I really just did all the research I could and stuff still wasn't making sense. It wasn't until about the 6 month mark, so 6 months, until I was like, wow, I really get a good concept of how everything is working, and this is pretty awesome. Um, and one of the reasons why I think a lot of people don't do it is because of the learning curve. Of course, anything you do in your entire life, doesn't matter if it's your daily job or not, you have to go through a learning curve, right? You go start a new job and you have to go through learning stages. You know, every single job has its different terminology, and that's how it is with the stock market. There's an entire different terminology to the stocks and what everything means, because that's extremely important to know of just going on to the exchange and knowing what everything is. That's a huge part of it. Once you get the concept of what everything means, it makes everything a lot more easy to be able to understand and read everything. And so a lot of people might get into stocks, and after the first few weeks or maybe even a month, they just get overwhelmed. They get overwhelmed of all of the information that there is about it. And that can stop a lot of people if they don't continue through. Instead, you can't get stopped by failure. Failure is a really big thing in the stock market. A lot of new people will come on. All right, a lot of new people will come on, and they won't start with a whole lot of amount of money. You know, maybe even just $100 like I did starting out. And through personal experience, every single person that I know to come off without knowledge of anything on the stock market and put their money in lose it right away. And so that's another really big thing of why America paints this picture on the stock market of you lose money when you go into stocks. Well, that's really interesting because a 401k and IRAs and the Roth and all of that stuff, what are those? Those are stocks. Big companies that you're probably working for give those out and you probably put a certain amount of your paycheck into it. So, with that being said, if you think that putting money into the stock market is nothing but losing, you do it through your company. And to be able to self manage that is a whole different aspect of it. The learning curve is extremely important on all types of different ratios. So let's say you start off with just $100 in the stock market and you lose it right away. Well, that can really be encouraging to no longer continue because you just lost $100. You know, it's like walking down the road with $100 in your pocket and you get home and it's not in your pocket anymore. Ouch, that hurts. That's not a good feeling at all when you lose $100 in the stock market. You know what I'm saying? And so that can definitely turn away a lot of people. And the way that this paints the picture is you have time after time people coming into the stock market without the knowledge of how to do it and lose money right away. That's almost everybody. Everybody I ever know, even myself, the very first thing I did coming into the stock market was lose it all because I didn't know what I was talking about. And so what do you think I did? I went out and said, yeah, I lost money and I think people that do stocks lose money. Well, no, I just didn't have the knowledge of exactly what it was I was doing. And until months later down the road, like I said, the 6 month curve was when I was like, I understand exactly why I lost the money. To a T, I know exactly why. And I learned from the mistake. So you cannot let that temporary defeat predict what has to come in the future. Are you familiar with the term 3 feet away? Like 3 feet before gold? This is an old time saying because way back in the gold days when everybody came to Colorado and everything to mine for gold up in the Rocky Mountains, that there was a group of people that went up there and they started mining and they hit gold right away. And so what did they do? They got all of this, they created and built all of this machinery to mine the gold out of the ground. And what happened was they ended up mining it all out And then they came to a point where they were not making any more gold at all. They were coming up with none. And so what they did was they took their profits from it, the few million they got out of all of the gold they mined, and sold the equipment. And what's so fascinating about this is the person they sold the equipment to went back to the very bottom of the mine where they stopped. And he called in an expert. And the expert came down there and said they were unfamiliar and didn't know about the fault lines. And believe it or not, if they would have dug 3 feet below where they stopped, they would have struck another fault line filled of gold. And so that pertains really clear picture of when you come down this road in the stock market, you're going to hit these points that you just think there's no way I'm not going past this. And in the incidents, they would have just asked for a little bit of help. They would have broke through. They would have broke through that temporary defeat because that's very important. Nobody can ever put defeat in you because you have the power to step over it. And once you do that, you now have experience of going around or over or going right through it. You now have the experience and you learn from what you did to grow stronger. So with that being said, the 6 month learning curve I'm talking about stops a lot of people. It really does. A lot of people go, wow, 6 months of learning the dry stock market? Well, the potential that it has for your knowledge and learning about all these different incomes you can make every single month way outweigh 6 months of your time for just simply putting in the knowledge, you know? And so that pertains really good to why it is I make all of my videos. I want you to learn through the mistakes that I did. For example, you don't put all of your eggs in one basket. That's rule number one. If you don't put all of your eggs in one basket, you're going to be a very successful profit in the stock market. You see how that kind of correlates there? 6 months comes in 6 months. 6 months doesn't come in a year. 6 months doesn't come in a year and a half. 6 months is 6 months. That's all it needs for you to take the time to learn the stock market and be able to do this in your everyday life. In my videos, I give clear examples. I give very clear examples of how you can work your job while being invested and making all of these incomes monthly on top of your monthly income through your job. What is everybody's end goal? Why do you work? Why do you make money? What is your end goal? It's retirement. You work all these years so you don't have to after a certain point. So the average person needs $1.8 million after they retire, and that only lasts 13 years. So if you retire at 60 with the average $1.8 million, that's going to last you 13 years. So you're going to be 73. My goodness, 73. How many people live past 73? So many people live past 73. Do you want to be 73 and now be broke and have to start working again? No, you do not. It is so important for you to learn the stock market so you are not in that position when you are 73 and now all of a sudden you have nothing because you did the monthly what it takes to scoot on by. All right? You want to have far more than that. You want to have so many different incomes a month to better yourself. One of the toughest things I think a lot of people in their 20s have is deciding, am I going to go out and have fun with my friends tonight, or am I going to sit down and learn about the stock market? Ask yourself, what are you going to do tonight? What are you literally going to go do tonight? What I'm going to do tonight is I'm actually going to sit here and learn more. I really am. I have an entire agenda tonight for just learning more and furthering my information and knowledge on the stocks because it's so fascinating. And it really comes down to, all right, I'm going to learn about them tomorrow night. Or tomorrow night comes and you get to it and you might start doing some research and then you get turned off because it's way overwhelming. Well, that's just sometimes what it takes. There's been many times where I've been like, man, this is some really dry information, but it has helped me 100%. I do not regret at all spending those long days and nights learning my information because it has helped me in so many different ways of life. Once you get over the 6 month learning curve, you're going to be great. I already know. If you are wondering where to get started, I use a very friendly user platform called Webull. It's in the description below. Subscribe, like, and join me on Apex Facebook group page where I upload and post all kinds of stuff, and it's where you can come and ask questions as well. I love answering questions. I want to be here for you. I want you to learn. I've done my learning and I want it to be easy for you to do the same. I have a step by step, exactly what you need to know for getting started and investing in the stocks. So, what are you waiting for? Come on over and join me. Thank you for listening.